Nope. And I'll record this separately and upload it tonight.
Thank you as always, Barry, for the setup and cleanup.
Thank you.
Somebody lost their glasses.
Me? Ashley's coming into town. Yeah. I'll be home, but I won't be here. Yeah, I'll be here right now. So I think we'll get started. I don't know, there might be another person or two coming in. I'm going to sit, because when I stand for too long, I have a knee that locks up and.
Excuse me. Let's take the mask off so we can hear
You
you.
can, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, when I stand too long, my leg locks up, and the next thing is I go down. So, Sunday worship is about all I can handle on a day. So there we go. I want to say a word of welcome to those of you who are listening to us online. I think it's after the fact, right? Both. Yeah. So when we get towards the end of our time together, and we're going to be talking about some volunteers, if you would like to help with the next phase, send a message to me or to Vanessa in the church office, and we will get back to you. I'd like to start with a word of prayer. You have heard this prayer from me quite frequently. It is part of evening prayer, and it really addresses to the trust that we need to have in God's leading. So the Lord be with you. And also with you. Oh God, you have called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, by paths as yet untrodden through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out with courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us and your love supporting us. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And I would just add to that, come Holy Spirit, come and be among us as we share in this conversation. So I arrived here at Hope a year ago tomorrow. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So originally, what I was asked by the Synod to do was just to fill in on a few Sunday mornings if there was a pastoral care thing, and oh, by the way, maybe provide some support to the council, which at that point we had 3 people. And it'll just be a couple weeks, maybe a month, while we figure out what the next step should be. Well, about 6 months, I called the Synod office, I called the bishop actually and said, I think I need to stay, and I think we have work to do. I don't think just kind of waiting for the Synod to make up their mind about what's next for this place. So the bishop said, that's great, if you're willing to be there, authorize me to do communion. But the more important piece was to be here and help you have the conversation that you've been having. So that's what we've been about this last year, is working together to think realistically. You've all gotten the summary. I'm not going to read it here because you've had a chance to read and reflect on it. But the main points are, this congregation has done significant ministry, both within the congregation and in the community in the years since 1958. Nothing changes that history. You've been here, you've done that. There is an amazing level of care for one another among the members and friends of Hope. I have been a part of a lot of congregations, but I am very moved by how much you care and look after one another. It's really an important thing. The other thing that amazes me is the food pantry. I have been a part of it. This summer we had some extra help, so I haven't been there so much on a Wednesday morning, but for a lot of months I was there every Wednesday. It is incredible the number of people that this congregation serves. With a handful of people, really, but that's something you should feel very proud of. But there are challenges facing Hope as well. There's a declining attendance. This gets a little trickier because it's hard to measure that during the pandemic. We can say, well, this many people we saw this many views online, but we don't know if that's one person, if that's 5 persons. We also don't know. I've told several of you this. My husband's family, various numbers of them, every Sunday during the pandemic, they listen in on his service, they listen in on our daughter's service, they listen in on this service. So what those online numbers really mean are difficult. But our in-person numbers, and it hasn't just been since coming back from the pandemic, there has been a kind of a slow decline for a while now. There's a dwindling of human resources for leadership and ongoing ministries. You are faithful people who I know love your church, love God, love each other, but you've also, many of you have carried a load for a long time and are at a point where you need somebody else to carry that. I get that. That is not, do not hear this as a criticism, but we have a large number of folks in this congregation that really can't do more in terms of taking on leadership roles or responsibilities. That's a challenge then, because who's going to do that work? Finances are another issue. I've heard Larry say this many times, and I think it's a great statement that you are faithful givers, but it just isn't enough, and that kind of fits in with fewer people because we just aren't as many people to do that. So those are some of the challenges that lie before us. It's clear that we can't just go on pretending that hope today is the hope of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago. I'm not sure when all of this happened. So we need to do something. We laid out for you in the summary 2 options. One is to move towards holy closure, and we talked in the summary about some of the things that would involve. One is what I named a new hope, which would say we would stay open as a congregation, but we would need to do some work on creating a leadership structure that was realistic. Your bylaws call for like 10 committees or something. That's just not realistic. But so it would involve creating a different kind of leadership structure. It would be defining how much of a pastor you could afford and being really clear about what that would mean in terms of it might be that what you can afford is somebody on Sunday mornings to do some pastoral care. But you need to respect them that that's what that means. So in many ways, it would be about stay open, but it would look different. Hope would be a different entity than what it is now. But it would be something that would fit for the resources that you have now. It's not I think I said this in the summer, it's not a matter of good or bad, it's a matter of just what kind of makes sense for this. So what we want to do today is just give you each an opportunity to share your thoughts and feelings. So we're going to invite you, and I hope everyone will take the opportunity. If you don't want to, that's okay too. But just to share your thoughts and feelings about where we are, about what you see as the future. This isn't going to be a debate because we're not going to vote at the end. So I don't want you to respond to what somebody else said. We're not going to have that kind of a conversation. Just a chance for as many of you who want to share your thoughts and your feelings about this. If you have questions, you can raise them. We'll come back to questions after everybody's had a chance to speak, and you can raise other questions at that point too. But does that? So we just want to hear from each other about how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what your response is. And we will just go as the Spirit moves you. Derek.
As you all know, we're barely out of the pandemic, if we really are. Some things are going back up again. But I was thinking the other night about pastors and about us not being able to hold end up with the monies that we have. We need more people. I was thinking too, well, when we everybody to church and other people, how much money do we normally get that is extra, people that just visit once in a while or once or twice a month, too. So, as a pastor mission, we are all do about what we got. I don't think that's the issue right now. I think, can we, keep going kind of as we are, and see where that brings us out of the pandemic, and see if we get more people showing up at church and or giving.
Who's next?
I've been a member here a little over 30 years, and I really enjoyed meeting all the wonderful people, but really, God is the center of why we're here, and it's reminded us of that. We have struggled to keep this church going for a long time, and we're continuing to struggle, and it's not getting better. I just think we all deserve the freedom to worship where we can, where we have support of many people. God does this by doing many things that the church can do. I value all your friendships, and I hope we'll continue together one way or the other. Thanks, Deacon.
My initial thought when you mentioned a part-time pastor or a Sunday-only pastor is, what is that? What is a part-time pastor? I don't think there is such a thing as a part-time pastor. A pastor, the members, the flock, if you will. But, if we have a part-time, Sunday-only pastor and somebody needs help on a Wednesday, I'm working at McDonald's today to make the bills, and we would have to realize that, and that would be very difficult. I know many of us needed to call and talk with our pastor over the years for various things in the middle of the night, and they're there to serve and to do that. So that's kind of my initial thought, and then the other one would be we circled around, and this is where the Spirit is leading us, and we have done what we need to do here in this building, which is not, as you said, it's not really the church, it's the building. Those are my 2 thoughts.
Bill.
when I was your pastor, when I was your president 8 years ago, Chris Sawyer was our administrative person, and she called me on a Friday morning and said it was like driving, and when the little light comes on, it says low fuel. She said, and this was like in June or July of probably 2013, and she said, we're running out of money, and and it was like, we were like bleeding, and there were so many things going on. She says, if we can make it through September, we will be okay. We have had, in the time that I was here, for more than 30 years, we've had so many challenges. There have been things that have happened, and we're not going to try and dredge up some of the things, but there have been so many things that have happened, not only with the people here and the leadership and that, good, bad, or indifferent, but just the infrastructure stuff. You saw the things in the background that, water leaks are we have plumbing problems, we have the infrastructure. It's a blessing that the air conditioner is working this morning, because you don't know time. So it's just something that it has not just happened, it has been happening for a long, long time. But we are faithful, and we're still here. Thank you.
Larry, you get your hand up.
You've got more than two options. You've got three. Not promoting that, but you have one to close, two to maintain, to go ahead, to restructure, and the third one is do nothing. And I'm not saying that we should be doing nothing. But as I see it, and to piggyback on Bill, this is life. I don't know of any life that has somebody can say that has been without challenges. There's challenges all the time. I think we got to look at it. When I look at the two options, and I say, well, okay, let's close. That's the easy way out. You have a parcel here that goes back to the Senate. It's worth probably over $1 million. We have a mortgage of $219,000. Pretty good deal for somebody. Well, could it be a good deal for us? To look at options, the other option, to restructure, to say, hey, what are we going to do? Look at the people that are here, the basics. Or the rest of them. You had the pandemic that turned around and influenced people. I don't have to go to church. I can sit in my pajamas with a cup of coffee and get it online. That's the new world. I don't like it. I've done it when we were forced to do it. Now that we're not forced to do it, I'm back here in church and we'll continue doing that at a church, no matter what church it is. You've got challenges, and I'm only 22. In November, I'll be 21. And so, as long as my general practitioner says, well, at least you got your mind. What do you want, your mind or your body? I said, I'd rather have my mind. He said, well, then be thankful, be happy. So I am happy, and I'll do all my part to keep hope alive, whatever it has to be done. And I would ask, how do we do that? How do we get the people that are not here? We don't hear them. We don't see them. They're faithful in various eyes, but where are they? And how do we get them involved? That's the challenge, not only with church, with all organizations that I'm associated with, and we're running through the same thing. I've done that. I don't need to do that anymore. So to get somebody else to do it, I mean, that's the attitude. The youngsters, they're with this right here. Look around.
Yeah.
That's all they need
Knowledge.
is this. I don't need to go to church. I don't need this. I've got this. I'll live with this. I don't like it. That's what we're up against. You're a youngster. And I'm not picking you up. You're a great youngster. But isn't that true?
I'm surrounded by a great group of people my age that love God and love church. So I believe that they're out there. But it is a fight. I understand what you're saying.
But anyway,
Thanks, Larry.
Well, I saw one person back doorway, maybe we're gonna get more back. And I can say it in one sentence, but I would like to say, I would like to continue. That's all I have to say.
Didn't hear what you said.
I really would like to continue.
We all would. I think we all would.
Reality.
If we don't have the people coming in, we don't have the money, what do we do? And without we do it. Without miracle.
Kind of like what was said already, we've been challenged a few times. We've overcome said challenges. Through the years, I really don't know how we've done it a few times. Just like Bill has said, it's tough. But when it gets tough, I've noticed this congregation always come together. It's really hard to find volunteers and get that management structure. So if we rearrange that management structure and make it a little bit different, I think we can do that. We have. That's what we do. I would hate to see us, as Larry says, take the easy way out. It's not really taking the easy way out if you think of everything considered, but I've often thought of it that way as well, and Sean's heard me talk about stuff like that. Hope's never taken the easy way out. I feel bad for some authority figures, pastoral figures that would come in, and like Chris said, what is part-time? We don't know what that is. We don't, we've had pastors that said they were part-time. We've had all kinds of things come in and come and go. And we've always persevered. I see no reason why we shouldn't move along, but I don't want to see it just driven into the dust either and have absolutely nothing left in the and then, our congregation growth has not been that great. We do see some people come in from before, from the past. That's great. We've had some new people come in, not very many. But for everyone that's here, we've all been here a long, long time. A lot of you, a lot longer than I have been. And that's faithfulness right there. We have a lot of faith in this church. I don't know what we can do with that. And lately, I've been too busy, mostly out of state, to be able to pay attention to what is going on here. I get a lot of information, but she does a lot. Some of you really, really do a lot for this church. Even if you're not here, you're still doing a lot for this church by coming in faithfully every Sunday. Every Sunday, y'all are here. We like that. Like I said, even if it comes down to the congregation sharing a message every week, we've done that as well. Chris, I know you've seen that. You've probably done a few, actually. So we can always still get along, move along. I just don't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be a really rough road, and it will be. And it seems to me a lot harder than taking the easy way out, but a lot more cohesive as a together and try to make that happen. And like I said, I know how that's happened, and it's a few people in the background that are really making that happen. Thank you, Margie, for what you've done with this church.
You guys mentioned part-time pastor. We've been through it already. Our last administration was the part-time pastor.
It's really tough. I don't know. If you keep moving along, just keep chugging along like we have been for years and years and years.
Margie, how long do you plan on staying?
Couple more months. And then
As long as we have. What was it, how much?
couple more months. My work here was never to come and be your ongoing leadership. It was to come and help you make some decisions. And we're coming to an end of that. So probably September. So, and you need to know that. And what I want you to hear is I am not abandoning you. But in some ways, it's not helpful for me to stay because we're muddling along. Okay, you know, and it kind of skews reality. That is not to say that if I leave, everything falls apart, but it just says, you know, so I think it's easier to feel I have those days too. And I just go, oh, this is, you know, we can move along. But I don't think that's healthy for you, and it's not my role. So, but you also need to know that I really come to love you all. So, but thank you, Carl. Who else would like to speak?
I don't,
Go ahead.
I don't think it's very healthy for us to have to come and struggle every week because we love the place and we'd like to continue. But keep struggling, it's the struggle, it's in the road. So, if we can't, I don't see the people that left coming back. They've already established themselves someplace else. Even though they say they love home, they don't love it enough to come to this meeting today, which is sad. But the only other solution is if members, and I don't say that we can, I don't say that we can't, let's go in, submit a bank and buy the property. If we do that, we could, well, we wouldn't have any bills now, would we? Except for paying the mortgage, we wouldn't have to pay the mortgage and us. We put some of that, hopefully, back into the building. I mean, that's just a thought. $200,000 between the budget, let's maybe we could raise it.
We haven't talked about what Synod leadership would look like, and I don't see that as the best, but I guess we need to at least look at that option.
When we get to the next phase of questions, I will address them. Other comments, especially those of you who haven't had a chance yet? I don't want anybody leaving saying, I should have said. So,
Well, it doesn't say anything like we can go on my VR. That's fine.
that's, yeah.
I must say, if hope closes, it would break my heart. And, because we're more than just a church, it's a family. And everyone who has come, is the friendliest church. And we all are, you know, a lot of churches, you go in, you worship, and then you leave. And when you leave, that's it, till the next Sunday. And they have no connection. And I don't know, to me, it is this connection that makes this church what it is. And unfortunately, our last pastor was not a good fit for us at all. And one of the best things was she left. That
She's
doesn't
right.
sound very Christian, but I think everybody will agree that she wanted the help, but then once she gave her the help and got things started, she'd take it, change it all around and kind of felt the people that left because they couldn't continue worshiping.
And just,
I don't mean that to be a
no,
gossip.
no,
that's
what happens. We're here to talk about reality, and I do want to say, because I've heard this, I've heard a couple folks mention getting people back. That's not realistic. When you've had people leave, even if things get better or you have new leadership, those people generally do not, and I've worked with lots of congregations throughout the church, those people are gone. It doesn't mean that you might still be friends with them, that kind of thing, but they've got their church homes, whatever. So we want to deal with what we've got here. Doesn't, and again, that's just another bit of a reality check. And it's hard. I know people that you loved felt like they couldn't stay here anymore. And that is really hard. I get that. But they're not gonna come back as a particle. John?
I would like to say that, first off, I love hope. I do. But, and I'm willing to be on any team to look into a part-time pastor or into holy closure. But I don't want to happen, and we could just keep moving along. There are 3 options, like Larry said. But I don't want us to continue on option C. If we continue on and just keep going, I want to make sure that if option C doesn't work out, you have to close, that we have taken care of the people that have been biased. I want to make sure the next is taken care of. I want to make sure Caitlin's taken care of. I don't want to run us into the ground and not be able to take care of the people who have helped us out. So I'm for all 3 options, and I'll do whatever you guys need, but I don't want to push us to the ground where we can't take care of the people who have helped us out. That's
I feel like those days. When I came back to Riverside to this church, because I place where my social existence is right now, my family's not here. And I feel like, yes, I could go somewhere else with some of my friends. I'm sure they'd be going somewhere too. But still, I thought of that, I felt terrible, I cried, I had all kinds of bad feelings. I want this place to exist. And in Ted's church, we were little, that lasted 48 years with a part-time pastor. Now, they didn't have a church building to deal with, but they had a lot of expenses. And if there are people that we can find that would help us find a part-time pastor, either a retired person or somebody new or somebody looking for a job, I did talk to Ted, this is the man I'm talking about, and he actually called him for us. But that meant he didn't talk about details.
That's not how we do pastors.
I'm sure it is, but he wanted to see what was out there. And he was trying to be helpful. The man said it was too far a drive for him to go.
Yeah, that's
We didn't really expect, I didn't expect anything, but what my point is that there are people that are out there. Also, there are people who don't too.
Anybody else who hasn't had a chance? Kathy, do you have anything you want to say?
Sure. So Larry, how many hours a week are you putting in for your church council?
I
10,
don't count.
10, 15?
I don't count.
Sean, how many are you putting in?
40 plus,
A few,
okay.
a few,
Okay,
a lot.
so I'm putting in 20 to 25 hours a week.
I'm sure you are, come on.
We don't have anybody managing the property. Vanessa's part-time. Deacon Margie, we bumped up, doubled her time to help manage the office. This is not sustainable. You are breaking the people who love you and are trying to hold this up. I appreciate that you love each other and you want this building to exist. I'm more than willing to help with that, but I cannot keep doing this. And we're like on a three-legged stool, honestly. We lose one person for 1 week and all hell breaks loose. So I care about all of you and I want you to continue to have a social existence, but I don't think hope necessarily has to be attached to this building. I have more belief in your faith in God than to think that that's the only way it can work out. And you're not gonna recruit a new member and say, you have to work 20, 30 hours a week on a volunteer basis. And that gets thrown at you if you wanna be part of this church. I'm sorry to sound so harsh, but I feel like we need a reality check.
To your point, having been on council several times, and as I look around this room, many of us that are sitting in this room right now have been on council more than once. Some of us have been on and going through an interim, we were kept on for an extra year or better. We've put in a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time. And that's when we had a lot of committees to help do some of these things. Right now, we don't have kids for a Sunday school. That doesn't encourage young people to come. When there's nothing, there are kids except a play area out there. It's difficult. And how many of us, and I'm not looking for a raise of hands, how many sitting in this room right now would be willing to take on another responsibility to keep this moving? You know, many of us have been there, done that, and don't want to do it again. And that's where we're at. You know, I mean, I can't tell you how many years I've been on council.
All of you have served, and you all have a right at this stage of your life to expect the church to support you. I'm not quarreling with that. It's just literally down to name on my
And if we did close, we could all decide to close or to move on together. And so we could still be our family and move on to a single church or two. So we could still be our family, just in a different building.
Oh, boy, that's.
So, one of the things, let me just step back a minute. Somebody asked about Senate's involvement. No matter where we go from here, the next step will be Senate staff working with you to explore one or both options. And because right now we're talking concept, we're not talking specifics. So that will be the very next thing that happens. It may be that as if you explore the idea of kind of a new structure that, I think that's something that the Senate can help you think about. They also can will help you understand how much of a pass-through you could have and what the possibilities for that are. There, you're right, there is a third option, and I should have laid it out as that. I tried to address it in the summary. You could just do nothing, but I guarantee you, this will just be more of a decline, and you're gonna reach a point where you don't get to make any of the choices, because then the Senate will need to step in and make those decisions for you. That's what I don't want to do. I have worked with congregations that down to 10 or less people on a regular basis, and somebody else is making decisions for that. This congregation has a good history, and you deserve to make those decisions one way or another. So, you're right, there is that third option, but is that really an option? There could be, and there's a variety of ways that if you did kind of a restructuring thing, there are a variety of ways that could play out. And again, the Senate will help you know your options, because a lot of this includes constitutional changes, certainly bylaw changes. It includes figuring out what do you really need a pastor to do, how much time could be reasonable, and does that fit into the budget. It could be Senate administration for at least a while or permanently. What Senate administration means is that you stay open as a congregation, but rather than having, a council, the Senate puts together like an advisory panel that makes decisions for the congregation. And that happens when there just is not enough people resources left to do that. The Senate is not going to come in and say, you have to do this, you have to do this. They will be coming to help you explore and figure out this or this, and if it's this, how might that work? So nobody is saying, oh, how can we close hope down? And even your assets, and it may be different congregations because they came out of different church bodies and there are different rules. The property may go, but you also have other resources, other assets that you get to make decisions about. If you were to decide to close, either now or down the road. So this is a partnership. This is, no matter what you decide, this is somebody coming in at this point, at least, saying, you must do this, and we're taking it all. The Senate, and at this point, it would be working with Pastor Terry Judy Allen and Pastor Tom Bullridge, both who I know have been here, to help you move towards whichever way you want. And I can't say that enough. I absolutely don't want you to have this sense of the Senate doing this to us. No, that's why we're having all this conversation, is you to make decisions. So,
In the past, when we were going through a call, not the last call, but a previous call, we only had a certain amount of money so we could use to pay for the pastor. Totally did not fit within the parameters of the Senate guidelines. And so we had to back in. What we ended up doing was, this is what we can afford. You need to find a pastor that can give this amount of money. And that's what we did. Didn't work out so well, but that's how it worked.
Yeah.
But it totally didn't fit within those guidelines. And that's what we would have to do again, is this is the monies that we have in this pot for a pastor. Find somebody who can fit in that pot. Not necessarily somebody with experience or enough guidance to help us through whatever that process may be, whatever it ends up being.
And Chris, that's, so it's the finances along with clear understanding on your part about here are the priorities for having a pastoral presence. Because, you know, like you say, well, we want to have a pastor, well, what does that mean? And you're really talking about less than half time. And this isn't because pastors are greedy, it's because pastors have their own obligations to family and self and things like that. And I just want to say that because sometimes that's the feedback I get when I'm working different places is, well, you know, if they really were committed to ministry, they'd take whatever we gave them. Who else is going to pay their mortgage and their health care and those kinds of things? Sarah?
I'm guessing this, okay? I'm not trying to say it better otherwise. You're part-time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you do a huge amount in that part-time, right? I mean,
Well, and I will be honest here too. One of the challenges for me has been not to do more. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I would just like to do this. But that's not being selfish, although there is self-care involved in it. But again, that's also wanting you all to be realistic because I, now, a couple months after I started here, I'm doing another part-time position with Sarah Pacific, which is the Synod north of us here. So that's helped me with my boundaries a little bit. But not everybody that you would call a contract for 15 hours would have, like, end up working at McDonald's, you know. So again, to be realistic, to work through if we're able to have a pastor, what are the most important things and how does that work? So again, you are still at a point where as this beloved community of faith, you can make some decisions together about what happens. I think you can agree that nobody wants hope to close. I mean, that's, you know, nobody's like, oh, yay, you know. But a commitment to what is best for this community and all of this is a part of is to help you make that decision in love and respect with one another because you may have different ideas about it. And so, other questions? Is there anything else that we haven't? Carol? Any other questions that you have? So here's the next piece. I told you that we weren't coding, and we're not, but in some ways what happens next is a kind of a code. So the next part of this process is to do some researching and working on if we were to stay open and kind of build a new hope out of this. This is what it would mean, and these are the pieces. So the next thing are people who feel enough about one way or another who are willing to give of their time. Now, we can either say we'll have a team looking at foreclosure, we'll have a team looking at hope, or we can say we will have 4 or 5 people who truly are open to which, you know, what we find. We will come back at the end of the summer to make, at that point, we will be voting, we will be making some decisions about it, and then all those things start coming into place. You're not being asked to figure this out on your own. Again, the first thing that will happen, so I've been working a week, they know that tomorrow they're going to get an email from me saying, this is kind of where things stand. Please give us a couple of good dates so that we can plan. That would be the first step. I hope this is all kind of making sense. So, I would like to know if there are folks among you who think we need to explore holy closure and are willing to do some work on that. If you are, just raise your hand. Kathy's going to take some notes. Sean, Larry, Chris, Helen, Phyllis. Are there some folks who would like to see us move towards a new structure for Hope, what it might mean to have a part-time pastor, Sarah, and are willing to volunteer for that? Helga?
If I can work it, I'll be part of that as well.
Okay.
Great. I'm vacillating.
Okay, why don't, I know you and Larry are two individual people, but if Larry's on one, why don't you serve on the other one, Phyllis? Not that I know you won't stand up for yourself, but,
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful because, okay. So Kathy's made note of that. I will be working with Synod staff this week to set up, and it may be that they come out together and meet at the same time. But we will get that set up as quickly as we can.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Is there any provision in our constitution for those that are not here to get their, not only input, but maybe be on one of these teams?
Institution, but I'm glad you brought that up because Larry Dodson, his family, Larry Dodson is happy to help in any way possible on either team. He is in Mexico, which is why he's not here for this meeting.
And Larry, my feeling is we try to offer opportunity for folks, and many, that's what's so interesting to me. This really is the core because most of you are part of conversation. And if somebody pops up and says, I'd really like to be a part of that, that's fine. But none of this is, we're not voting. When we get to a point at the end of the summer, when we'll be formalizing this, people will need to be here. I think that's what the Constitution says. Sarah.
Jane is the person who usually takes the church.
You want to call her and see if
If you want to call her and ask if she'd like to be a part of one of these groups, that would be great, Sarah. Let us know. And for those of you who are online with us, this is what I was saying at the beginning. If some of you who are watching would like to be a part of one of these teams moving, please let me know, let Vanessa know, and we will make sure that you're included in that. Well, I
There are
think,
two people that still had not, like, a couple of people that I talked to at one time, but they're still not coming to church. And it isn't that they don't want to, they're still worried about it.
Well-
People still there.
yeah,
But everybody got the letter, so.
But that doesn't mean
And-
they want to come.
and the other thing that Sean and I have been working on is the membership list because we're just trying to clean that up so that we know who's really there. I want you to know, and I've said this before and I will keep saying it, I do believe that there is a right or wrong answer here. I really do believe that the Spirit's leading in this. I believe everything I said in my sermon today, that you people are the church and you will be the church, whether Hope as a congregation exists or not, and that God's in the midst of all of this. Whatever happens next does not reflect on the good ministry that you've done. This is not a failure. This is different life cycles, different realities. So I just can't say that to you enough. You are good and faithful people. You have been a committed congregation, And we just want to come to a faithful decision.
So now that we kind of have our little teams, you're gonna get in touch with the Synod, and the Synod will get in touch of the team?
No, we'll let the teams know when we're gonna meet, and my guess is that we'll probably get a couple of dates from Pastor Terry and Pastor Tom, and we'll kind of decide when the best time for that.
We figure we're gonna go at this for say a month.
But by the end of the summer or beginning of September, and we'll confirm that when that next congregational meeting will be, we expect to have reports back, maybe with recommendations, maybe with, we've looked at this and we don't think this is like one way or the other. I will be a part of getting things organized and going. I don't know how much of a part of the ongoing groups I will be. I'll kind of be part of the team with Pastor Terry. So if you come to one of those meetings and I'm not there, it's not because I ditched it. It's just that moving forward, change the leadership.
Would you like to share what the people have said in the chat? Are they allowed
Yes,
to?
yes, thank you.
From Marilyn Dodson, agreed, hope is more than a church. It's home, a family. We also need to be open to growth, not so rigid to change or opposed to ideas to change. Jesus opens his arms to all people. Another comment, yes, I remember when I was on council as well and teaching Sunday school, it was a lot of work, and I agree with Kathy. Unless there is growth and movement, we are going to continue to lose people, and we are pushing the few that we have to the breaking point. From Yunko Urki, my poor parents, Jerry and Miko Urki, are very tired and cannot keep putting in all the extra work. I agree with Kathy, we have reached the breaking point. From Marilyn, Yunko, I also am very concerned about my parents and the other members that put in a lot themselves. From Junko, thank you, yes, for saying that, Marilyn. Most of our congregation and the ones that are having to put in extra work are over 80 years old. This makes me very sad and I think is quite dangerous. I am willing to help with moving towards growth for hope, to give hope a fighting chance, realizing it's not an easy fight. I will be sad to see hope close. So maybe Marilyn would be willing to be a part of that team as well.
Well, I want to thank you all for good conversation and sharing what's on your heart. I know this is not easy. It's been a privilege to continue to walk with you all through this. But thank you for being here, for being a part of the other conversations to this point. And we will see where the Spirit leads us, because I absolutely believe that. I'm going to close with a prayer from Julian of Norwich. I quoted a bit of this in my last newsletter article. So let us pray. In you, Father Almighty, we have our preservation and our bliss. In you, Christ, we have our restoring and saving. You are our mother, brother, and savior. In you, our Lord, the Holy Spirit, is marvelous and plenteous grace. For love, you wrap us up and embrace us. You are our maker, our lover, our keeper. Teach us to believe that by your grace all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Amen. All shall be well. Thank you all.